like to apologize really quick for the difference in audio quality right now. I don't have my computer all set up the way I want to, and I haven't figured out how I'm going to be doing the recording in this new space. So today's recording is with the iPhone audio. Hopefully you can forgive me for that, and we'll get that fixed soon. I hope you guys like it. This is the wall of games. We're gonna go over all of that in another video pretty soon because my game room is just about done. But today's video is not talking about that. This is an exciting time as somebody who enjoys to play games, but who does a lot of going around and moving about. You know, I have all of these old games that I like to play, but it's hard to do that whenever I'm going around so much because all of these require a console to play. And emulation hasn't exactly been my friend recently because I've kind of moved towards the Apple ecosystem. And say you're like me and you don't like to jailbreak your devices because you want them to work as intended. That day's finally come because Apple has finally allowed emulators to exist on their platform. I read the wording of the App Store policy and it's definitely a little gray, but it does allow them to exist. And so that got me thinking about it, and it's like, oh cool, emulators on the phones are awesome. I used to be an Android user and I made sure I had emulators loaded up to be able to play all my old games. But the problem with that is touchscreen controls are always kind of terrible. You know, they work fine for RPGs, turn-based anything, but the focus is on like strategy or something rather than quick action. So for some games, you just need tactile physical buttons. And the problem with needing actual physical buttons is that a lot of controllers are really kind of difficult to travel with because they're big. I check out the Switch Pro controller here. Like it fits in my pocket, but it's big and bulky and it's just kind of gross to have that in there. But our friends over at 8bitdo have created something that kind of helps mitigate that process a little bit. And that is the 8bitdo Micro. I swear I had this in my pocket this entire time filming this intro, and I forgot it was there. It's a small little guy, so it's not personally like the easiest thing to hold, but it does give you a lot of the modern controller functionality in something that is basically the size of a Tic Tac box. You shove it in your pocket and you're ready to go. So I want to take this guy over to the table. I want to show you the unboxing experience. It's not much of an unboxing, but there is something. And then I want to talk a little bit about this guy and see if this could be something you might want in this new age of Apple emulation. So yeah, let's go do it. And here we go. So again, please excuse the iffy audio and the weird lighting. Still getting everything set up, and we'll get there. We'll get there. It'll just take a little time. But for now, we have the 8bitdo Micro. Excuse the destruction of the box. It took a little doing to get this out of here the first time. And yeah, but everything's in here. This is the exact experience that I got when I opened it. There is the controller itself. And the other stuff got left in the box. Okay. It comes with this like elastic rubbery wrist strap. So that way whenever you're playing games, you can actually have it like attached to you. That way if it slips out of your hand, you're not going to lose it. And it's not going to just go flying across the room. You get your documentation telling you how to use it. Underneath it, you have the USB port. One big improvement in this guy over the 02 controller, they did move the controller to USB-C, which is really nice. You can use this to charge it, or you can use this to do the firmware updates on the controller. And this controller's firmware updates the same way that any of their controllers do. You download their firmware updater, go through that process, and it gets the controller up to date. And then you have the controller itself. Much like 8bitdo's other controller outings, this is a very solid build. There's no real, it's like the tiniest little bit of flex whenever you squeeze on it, which is fine because I would expect that from a plastic anything. Another big improvement in this guy over the 02 is that it has actually dual shoulder buttons, or 4 shoulder buttons I should say. You have your proper L and R out here on the ends, and then you have the little L2 and R2 here. Not going to be the most beneficial thing for older games, but it is still something that's nice to have depending on what you want to play. Having that, you could actually play some non-DualShock PS1 games, so that's good to know. The buttons themselves have nice travel to them. They feel a little bit mushy. Like I wish they were a bit more of a proper mechanical switch like you see with the Joy-Cons, but oh well. But I do notice that the shoulder buttons themselves have like a very distinct click. I mean, like, listen to this. Versus these just are obvious membrane buttons, whereas these are just definite like switches. Ergonomically, I can't say that this thing's going to be the best, because it just is so small. Like, it's the size of 1.5 erasers. Like, what? I can't expect it to be too comfortable. Ergonomics is not what this thing's designed for though, so you can give that a bit of a pass. It's got your plus and minus buttons for start and select. It's got your star button, which is generally a screenshot button. I don't actually know what that's going to be mapped to in the Delta emulators. And then you've got your home button here, which is how you actually turn the guy on. Press it down, it turns on. You hold it down for a few seconds and it will turn off. On the one side here, you have the spot to attach that wrist strap. And on the bottom, you have your mode selector switch. Whereas other ones had D, X, S, and A. Where other controllers similar had D, S, X, and A. This one has S, D, and K. S is for the Nintendo Switch. D puts this thing into direct input mode, and K actually makes this into what's called keyboard mode, which I haven't really played around with, but from what I understand it can do, it makes it actually it does some really interesting stuff. But for phones and for phone emulators, you're gonna want this into the D mode because that is its direct input mode, and that's what most devices are going to read for a game controller. Plastic itself feels very much like 8bitdo's other outings. It's nothing, it's plastic, so it's nothing special to write home about, but it's not like cheap plastic. Like it does feel very good in the hand. I have a few mixed feelings because I feel like I almost wish it was a little bit rubberized, but I also know that rubberizing things rubberized anything kind of just turns to goo over time, so I understand why it's not rubberized, but I just feel like with its size, that would have made it a little easier to hold on to. But again, mixed feelings. I kind of wish it was, but I totally understand and like that it wasn't.
What's up, guys? Me here at my desk doing editing. One thing I forgot to mention in the clips is that the 8bitdo Micro comes in 2 colors, the green like you see here, and then it also comes in this nice little blue variety. And either color costs $25.
So let's go ahead and get this guy running with the iPad here so we can test it out with Delta. Let's go ahead and punch in so you can see what's going on. We're going to go into our settings app and we're going to navigate over to the Bluetooth menu. Now with the device in the D input mode, we're going to go ahead and turn it on and enter it into its pairing mode by holding the button down on the bottom for a couple of seconds. And it goes into pairing mode, and as you can see here, the 8bitdo Micro gamepad shows up. We'll just let that pair. And there it goes. It is now paired and ready to go. Let's make our way over to the Delta emulator. And you can go into the settings and customize your controls just to make sure everything works like you want it to. And it should, because we're gonna have our up, left, right, and down. Our menu is gonna be that button, and we can set up our game to work exactly like we want it to. Select, we're gonna go ahead and make the minus button, and start, we're gonna make the start button, and then we can save that. And you can customize it for every different console that's available here, but luckily a lot of them are going to be good from the jump. Whenever you have a controller connected to it, you probably don't want controller opacity on, because you want to be able to actually see the game that you're playing. And there we go, it's working. Now that we're in the game, you probably can't see it all that well, so let me actually lower the camera. There we go, this way you can get a better idea of what's going on. And it plays exactly like you would expect a Bluetooth controller to play. There is the slightest touch of input lag, which might make some of these really older games a little more difficult to play. But honestly, it's no different than playing with a modern Bluetooth controller on a console. So if you're used to playing games like this on the Switch with either the Pro Controller or the Super Nintendo controller or anything like that, then you're gonna have no problems getting used to it, Metroid plays exactly like you'd expect it to, but again, just that slightest little bit of lag. I know I talked a little bit about the size of the guy, and yes, it is very small and it is kind of hard to hold on to, but this is a bit of an improvement over their 02 controller that they released a few years ago. And the size has pros and cons. It's a little hard to hold, but it just disappears in your pocket. You don't even realize it's there until you're like, I want to play a game. Oh right, I have a controller. This will make some of your twitchier games a little bit more playable on the go. And Bob over at the Wolf Den made this comment that really kind of resonated with me about this, is like, the best console to play your games on is the console you have with you. And regardless of the feelings on the morality of emulation, everyone now has some kind of console with them because emulation is now available basically on everything. That's a huge thing in this day of gaming. And I personally really like that, because prior to now, there's been a large portion of people who haven't been able to play these games, and now everyone has the ability to. And that just is really exciting to me. I know this went from a controller review to talking a little bit about emulation as a whole, but you know what? It's fine. It's my channel. I can do whatever I want. But 8bitdo Micro, a really good controller for this section of gaming. I personally don't think I'd want to use this for my Switch. And if I have the capacity to bring my Switch with me, I'm either going to just use the Joy-Cons attached to the console, or I have the space to probably bring with me either the official Pro controller or the wireless Super Nintendo controller, or even one of 8bitdo's other offerings like the M30 or the SN30 Pro. I feel like a controller like this fills a niche in the specific market of phone emulation, and that's certainly what I'm excited to use it for. But I think that's all I have to say on this. Thank you guys so much for watching. I look forward to bringing you even more controller reviews just like this one as the days go on. So again, thank you guys for being here, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one, y'all.